One bloodline, both sides. 200 years of war was never an accident. In 1815, a single man stood in a London trading room and made more money in one day than most nations held in their entire treasury. While thousands of soldiers lay dying at Waterloo, he already knew the outcome. Hours before the British government, hours before Parliament, hours before the generals themselves received word. And what he did with that information didn't just make him the richest man in England. It made his family the invisible central bank of the entire Western world. His name was Nathan Mayer Rothschild, and the fortune he built that day would go on to finance every major European conflict for the next 2 centuries, on both sides of the battlefield. Simultaneously, by design. Follow the money. The story doesn't begin on a battlefield. It begins in a ghetto, literally. The Judengasse of Frankfurt, Germany, a cramped, walled street where Mayer Amschel Rothschild worked as a coin dealer and financial agent in the late 1700s. The man was brilliant, meticulous, and he understood something that no monarch, no general, no statesman of his era fully grasped. The man who controls the debt controls the nation. Not the man on the throne, not the man with the army, the man holding the ledger. Mayer Amschel had 5 sons, and he did something no banking family had ever attempted. He sent each one to a different European capital: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt, building the first truly international financial network in history. They shared intelligence through private couriers faster than any government's postal system. They coordinated loans across borders, and they established a principle that would define 200 years of global conflict. Never choose a side, fund them all. Every empire that ever collapsed had one thing in common. It was in debt to someone who didn't care whether it survived. When Napoleon rose to power and Europe erupted into war, the Rothschilds didn't flee. They calculated. Nathan, stationed in London, financed the British war effort, channeling gold across the English Channel through a network so sophisticated that the British government itself became dependent on Rothschild logistics. Meanwhile, his brother James in Paris maintained financial relationships with French interests. The family's correspondence, much of it written in a private code mixing Yiddish and German, reveals a cold strategic clarity. War is the most profitable enterprise in human history, but only if you are on every side of it. Here's the thing. The mechanism is deceptively simple. Nations at war need money, desperately, immediately, at any cost. They issue bonds. They take loans at punishing interest rates. They mortgage their futures. The lender doesn't need the nation to win. The lender just needs the nation to survive long enough to repay, or, failing that, to seize the assets pledged as collateral. Lend to both sides, and you don't just double your revenue. You eliminate your risk entirely. Someone will win, someone will lose, but you will always collect. The history books called it coincidence. The financial records tell a different story. After Waterloo, the Rothschild legend exploded, and so did their balance sheet. Nathan's legendary trade, where he allegedly spread false rumors of a British defeat to crash the bond market before buying at the bottom, has been debated by historians for generations. But what is beyond dispute is the result. By the 1820s, the Rothschild family controlled a financial empire worth more than any single European government's annual revenue. They became the primary bond underwriters for England, France, Austria, Prussia, and virtually every significant European state. They financed railways, mining operations, colonial ventures. They lent to the Vatican. They lent to kings who hated each other. And when those kings went to war, the Rothschilds lent to both of them. The Crimean War of the 1850s? Rothschild capital flowed to Britain and France on one side while maintaining financial channels with Russian interests on the other. The Wars of Italian Unification? The Naples branch financed the Bourbon monarchy while other branches supported the forces working to overthrow it. The Franco-Prussian War of 1870? The family had deep financial roots in both Paris and the German states. Every single conflict followed the same invisible architecture. Public alliances shifted, borders were redrawn, empires rose and fell, but the debt always flowed to the same address. And that's where it gets strange. Because by the late 19th century, the Rothschild model had been studied, copied, and scaled by an entire class of international financiers, J.P. Morgan in America, the Warburg family in Germany, Kuhn, Loeb and Company in New York. When the First World War erupted in 1914, the financial machinery was already in place. American banks lent billions to Britain and France. German banks funded the Central Powers, and many of these institutions were connected through partnerships, marriages, syndicated loans, and shared board memberships, in ways that made national borders almost irrelevant to the flow of capital. Think about that for a second. The war killed 17 million people, destroyed 4 empires, redrew the map of the world, and when it was over, every surviving nation was catastrophically in debt to the same interconnected network of private financial institutions that had made the war possible in the first place. Follow the money. It never follows the flag. The pattern repeated with horrifying precision. After Versailles, American loans rebuilt Germany through the Dawes Plan and the Young Plan, money that flowed through the same Wall Street banks that had financed the Allied war effort. When the Weimar Republic collapsed, and a new, far more dangerous regime rose in its place, industrial and financial capital kept flowing. Standard Oil, General Motors, Ford, Chase Bank all maintained German operations well into the 1930s. IBM's German subsidiary provided the punch card technology that would later be used to manage concentration camp logistics. The financial records are not ambiguous. They are simply ignored. World War II killed 70 million people. And when it ended? Same pattern. Again. The victors were in debt. The reconstruction was financed by private capital, and the institutions that had enabled the destruction were not dismantled. They were promoted. The Bank for International Settlements, which had facilitated financial transfers between Allied and Axis powers during the war, was not shut down. It still operates today as the central bank of central banks, headquartered in Basel, Switzerland, quietly coordinating global monetary policy beyond the reach of any democratic government. This is the hidden machinery. Not a single conspiracy with a single villain, but a system. A financial architecture designed so that war is never a catastrophe for the people who fund it. It's an investment. In the coldest possible terms, it's a business model. Create the conditions for conflict. Lend to all participants. Collect the debt from whoever survives. Repeat. The Rothschild family today is far more private than it was in the 19th century. Their direct influence has been diluted across generations, trusts, holding companies. But the system they pioneered? It hasn't disappeared. It's spread. Today, defense contracts flow to corporations whose largest shareholders are the same index funds and asset managers, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, that also hold controlling stakes in the media companies that report on the wars, the energy companies that fuel them, and the pharmaceutical companies that treat the wounded. The names have changed. The structure has not. Every generation believes its wars are fought for freedom, for justice, for survival. And maybe they are, for the soldiers, for the civilians, for the nations. But for the institutions holding the debt, the motivation is simpler, older, and far less noble. If this changed how you see history, leave a like. It's how stories like this reach the people who need to hear them. The next time you see a headline about a new conflict, a new military budget, a new emergency loan between nations, ask yourself the question that 200 years of financial records have answered again and again. Who is lending the money? Who collects when it's over? And why does no one ever ask? Subscribe now, because the history they taught you left out the most important chapter, the one written in the ledger, not the textbook.